right? It should not be the thing that kills you. And if it is a thing, if it is killing you in some ways, then that means we need to reevaluate what and why, we're here.
And yeah, that's part of the reason why I started this channel, right?
Yeah.
Is because grad school is stressful. The suicide rate associated with grad school is higher than what it should be. So yeah, that right there is to, show students that you don't have to put yourself under these conditions, even though it may look like this is the way to get there.
Like grad school, like as a whole, can be a super dreadful experience, and it can be even more dreadful. Well, let me back up. It's not a dreadful experience. Like grad school is already going to be a challenging experience. Grad school is going to be hard. It's meant to be like a difficult kind of task to do, right? And so it's going to be that already. What makes it become like a drudge or the dread or the bane of someone's existence is if like they don't really love what they do, right? And so like one of the things that I've talked to a lot of the time is like people who are having like really, really tough experiences and bad experiences. And a lot of it is because, right, on some level, like they don't love this, right? Like they are not really, right, in love with the process of what it takes to do X, Y, Z. Right. And so if to be an academic means I need to be publishing, I need to be conferencing, I need to be networking, I need to be doing these things, I need to take these classes, I need to write these books, I need to do these things. Right. And if you don't love like the idea of all of those things, it's going to be hard to kind of like matriculate and do these different tasks. And that's one of the things, right, I had to learn, because before, like I was just like, yeah, everyone come do grad school. It's great. It's great. It's great. And I found that to be kind of like irresponsible, because like some folks would get into their programs and it would not be a good experience, right? For maybe it's the program or the professors or the curriculum that they keep like clashing heads with. And so like I had to like adjust that to say like, no, come like get into these things if you love it, right? And so if you love the process of, I'm gonna read a whole bunch of text and I'm gonna write a whole bunch of words and I'm gonna do a whole bunch of things, right? And I'm okay with that because I enjoy this, right? I enjoy doing this and I'm good with it, right? And if you are able to say that, then yeah, this is what this could be a field for you, right? I mean, because it's almost like the cheesy cliche, right? If you find something you love, you never work a day in your life. And while it's a cliche, right, and while it's super cheesy and whatever and very romantic, in some cases naive, right, for me, I've known that to be true with my particular case. And so I've had to, a lot of times when people ask me like, hey, how do you like Penn State, or what's it like over there? Like, you're the only black person there. Like, what's it like being all isolated and stuff? And a lot of times I have to tell them like, I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question to, because my particular experience has been something different, right? And so coming from, my particular, like what I was coming in from, right? And so I was coming from, right, working in, call centers for like 7-8 years and doing a dreadful, like, 9-to-5 kind of thing where I'm just like working all the time. It's something that is not fulfilling at all and literally feels like the bane of my existence, where you dread going into work every single day, right? And then when I came here, that has not been my experience, right? Like I tell everyone who will listen, like I've had stressful days, right? I've had deadlines that I was up against. I've had times where I felt kind of overwhelmed in terms of, the amount of workload that I had to do or the responsibilities of everything. But at no point, right, in the 4.5 going on 5 years that I've been here, at no point have I felt a sense of dread as I go into campus or as I go into the office, right? At no point has that been the case for me. And so I can say that. I know everyone else can't say that. And so I don't put that on everyone else. But I will say that on some level, right, it helps if you love and appreciate, right, what it takes to do this, right? And so a lot of times, right, that means getting some harsh critiques on your work. You know what I'm saying? Like, because depending on your relationship with your professor, right, there's a standard, and we can problematize like the standards in terms of like access and privilege and all of those different things, right, that plays into that, because it's a conversation to be had. that instill, right? There's a standard that you're supposed to be met to. And so to get to there, right, a lot of times requires a lot of hard conversations, a lot of harsh kind of critiques of the work, a lot of like, you know, things where it's going to be, it feels like somebody's like beating over your head. Or I've heard certain people use it as like academic hazing. You know what I'm saying? And to that point, right, let me put it this way. And I'll preface this last statement by saying, you know, the Greek fraternities of which I am a part of, Alpha Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, is a non-hazing organization. I just wanted to say that. But like most people who do Greek things, right? And so one of the things about like, you know, hazing or stuff like that, like these Greek organizations, right? If they're Black Greek or whatever, right? A lot of times they have these reputations of like being hazing, right? Hazing is illegal, obviously. Don't haze. That's given. But a lot of times, like what often gets talked about is like, why do people subject themselves to it, right? And so the act of like someone hazing you, yes, that's bad, right? But in addition to that, to allow oneself to be hazed in a lot of cases, right, gets people in just as much trouble, right? And so for example, right, in most, you know, Greek organizations, right, they have things that say we do not haze, we do not stand for hazing, like we will prosecute people who do this to the fullest extent of the law, right? No hazing. But they also say if you are caught like being a recipient of it, like subjecting yourself to it, there's repercussions for you as well, which basically says like you should not be allowing yourself to be hazed, right? All of that to say, even if you feel like what makes people like continue sometimes who like subject themselves to those things is because they want what's on the other end of that, or they, in some cases, like they're appreciative or understanding of the process that it takes to do that, right? They, for whatever reason, have accepted that this is what I need to do this, and so this is what I want to do in order to achieve this thing.
And I think I can translate that to what that looks like in the academic setting, or at least from my perspective from the sciences. You know, on paper, students work 20 hours a week. That's it. But what actually tends to happen sometimes is that you have PIs that, you know, have this unwritten expectation that their students are going to be in the lab 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And the thought behind that is, right, the student has accepted that, and students knowing this still go to these professors' labs because they see that, oh, that professor is publishing, or, you know, students are graduating, or, you know, whatever reason that they have come up with to say that, though this is something that may be harmful to me, I see what the other side looks like. And so I'm going to go there regardless of the negative impacts that could come from it.
Grad school is not supposed to drive you crazy. Grad school is not supposed to kill you. Grad school is not supposed to put you into, right, these different mental health kind of things that will take a psychological toll on you. It's not meant to do that. And if it's doing that, then that means we need to readjust some things, right? And that means readjusting things within the system of grad school, but that also means some self-readjustment and really reanalyzing and, you know, reassessing what I'm really doing here and why I am continuing to do it.
Mm-hmm. And if that's a conversation with your advisor, you know, hey, you want me to do this amount of work, but, you know, it's not healthy for me, right? You have to be able to stand up for yourself and say that, you know, I can't work 60 hours a week. I can't come in on Sundays, right? Like, for whatever reason, you have the right to do those things.
Exactly. And I'm, as you know, fight the power as probably as the next person. And so, like, if it comes to, you know, fighting those different fights and stuff, again, right, you pick your battles and you do the things that you feel are necessary. But like, if it's coming to a point where you're choosing between like your literal well-being, talking about like if it's really affecting you and you are negatively affected in like significant ways, like this is like hits to your person, right? If it's affecting you on that level, then we need to reassess like what we're doing. Right. But if it's just, you know, inconvenience, like, oh, I can't watch TV like I used to before, or I can't play these da 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 da. Like TV is not that important part of my life. And I love TV. But like it's not that big to me there. You know what I mean? That you know, I'm like, I need to reassess why I'm in grad school. But if it was like keeping me away from my family and friends, if it was, you know, causing me to not eat well and causing me to not get enough rest and causing me to, you know, take on like really, really bad coping mechanisms as habits, right? Then it's like, okay, yeah, this is not okay.